All right, let's get into it. What happens when TikTok meets a raspy voice and country pop storytelling? Meet Stella Lefty, the girl who turned a hook into a hurricane. Hey, I'm Emma. I'm in a very playful mood today. You know when a song hits and suddenly your whole vibe does a 180? Yeah, we're doing that. So let's talk. Stella Lefty, born Stella Lefkovsky, is an American singer-songwriter who exploded in 2026 with a country pop crossover called Boston. If you've heard it once, it's living rent-free in your head. She blends indie folk texture with pop pacing and country storytelling, and her vocals are that deliciously raspy thing that makes every line feel confessional. Quick personal moment. I was doom scrolling TikTok one night, low-key spiraling, and I landed on this tiny clip from a brand new artist. Just a verse, a hook, a girl in her room, no glam. It didn't fix my life, obviously, but it snapped me out of the fog. Music is a mood swing with a melody. That's Stella's story. She posted songs during a rough patch while studying abroad in Amsterdam, and the internet, bless it and curse it, pushed her straight into people's feeds. Not theory. You post, the crowd votes, and if they care, they carry you. Stella wasn't even aiming at this at first. She went to Tulane in 2020 to study public health, graduated in 2024 with no plan for music as a career. Then life said, surprise. She put out independent tracks in 2024, built an EP in 2025 called Tragic, Really, kept feeding the socials, and by early 2026, the rocket launched. If you've ever felt stuck, honestly, this is your receipt that a pivot can find you. Okay, let's move on. The basics. Stella grew up in Glencoe, Illinois, north of Chicago. Choir kids and coffee house vibes. Not the standard Nashville assembly line. She later moved to Los Angeles. The exact timing is fuzzy, but once the TikTok momentum was real, LA put the studio doors on fast open mode. And then the sound. Think diaristic lyrics, singable hooks, and that raspy timbre that makes you feel like she just FaceTimed you at midnight. It's genre agnostic. She can sit in indie folk, tap country radio, and still feel pop-friendly. Her breakout Boston. Here's the tea, straight up. It interpolates Stick Season by Noah Kahan, the indie folk guy of the last few years. Interpolation means they recreated a melodic element rather than sampling the original recording. Kahan's credited as a co-writer. Smart move. It makes the hook familiar without sounding glued on, and it opened the door for both country and pop playlists. Boston debuted on the Hot 100 in spring 2026, sprinted into the top 20, and eventually peaked at number 6. That's not mid, that's a flex. Now, the people around her. First up, Grace Anger, a pop-leaning songwriter and artist, and Sadie Jean, a singer-songwriter you might know from those heartbreak anthems. Together with Stella, they wrote Thinking About You in early 2026. It landed on the US Hot Country Songs chart. Translation: she wasn't a one-hook wonder. She was already collaborating, workshopping, and getting receipts on the boards. Then there's the father factor. Eric Lefkovsky, billionaire entrepreneur who co-founded Groupon and leads Tempest AI and MediaOcean. The name turns heads, obviously, but the documented arc is indie releases to TikTok traction to label signing. That's a bottom-up story, not a top-down placement. Honey, you can't buy strangers caring about your lyrics. Money can book a session. It cannot make the For You page love you. Speaking of labels, she signed to Atlantic Outpost shortly after February 2026. That's a country imprint under Atlantic Records. Why it matters. You get Nashville-facing strategy with major label muscle. And it worked. The EP, Is This Heaven, came out in May 2026, debuted on the Billboard 200, climbed to the mid-20s, and hit the top country albums top 10, with around 20,000 units opening week. That's listeners graduating from one song to a whole project. Career math, people. Beyond charts and labels, the film thing also mattered. She performed The Kill for Scream 7 in 2026. For anyone who skipped that franchise, it's a slasher series with a cult pop culture footprint. Getting a song in there early says the industry sees mood and moment in her voice. Also on the project, she rolled out I Know, which hit country charts, and Something to Lose with Vincent Mason, which helped cross into the Hot 100. Collabs are currency. She's spending wisely. Big question time. Did family connections or TikTok virality drive her success? Here's my take. Yes, a famous last name means access. But the internet doesn't care about your dad. It cares if you make people feel something in 15 seconds. Stella's receipts say the spark was TikTok and songs, then the label, then the machine. Boston going top 10 in the US, top 5 in Canada, and earning certifications in Australia and the UK. Momentum like that doesn't happen without actual demand. The label amplified it. The crowd lit it. Also, shout out to strategy. The interpolation didn't cheapen originality, it built a bridge. If she hadn't used Stick Season's melodic DNA, would Boston have moved as fast across indie folk and country pop lanes? Maybe, but the familiar anchor helped radio and playlists say yes faster. It's not a hack, it's a craft choice. And crediting Noah Kahan up front kept it clean. No mess, just momentum. Why this matters in pop culture. We're watching the collapse of rigid genre walls. TikTok is basically a global radio station with a swipe, and it turns vulnerable verses into community anthems in hours. Stella posts from a tough headspace abroad. A couple years later, she's charting worldwide and headlining her own dates. That's the modern campfire. Millions of phones, one hook, everybody yelling the chorus in their kitchen. And the sound sticks because it's lived in. Raspy vocal grit plus story detail equals credibility across scenes. You can throw her on a folk playlist or country radio or a pop mood board. She fits without shapeshifting into something fake. That's a total vibe, just saying. Okay, pause, because this next part is everything. Next time, we're diving into the rise of genre-agnostic artists, the ones breaking the old radio rules and making playlists the new power brokers. Why it's happening, who's winning, and who's getting left behind. So that's the tea, folks. Ride the wave of virality, but bring a story people can scream sing. Tell me your Stella Lefty moment. What lyric got you in the throat? Drop it in the comments. We'll pick this up next time. Later!